Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's go ahead and get fired up and into it. Got a good episode planned for us today. Welcome. This is the Alpha Phase Podcast. I hope that you guys are enjoying the podcast. It's supposed to be broadcasting to shorts as well. I'm not sure if it is. So YouTube just launched a feature where they broadcast to your shorts as well. So we'll find out. I don't know, you have to check if you have to check it every time before you go live or what. So super excited to be with everybody this morning. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. I don't know how long we'll do it, but let's enjoy it while we do. One big thing that I want to get across during the season of the podcast is adding value to you, of course. And also I'm wanting to learn how to read very clearly and articulately off a screen while I'm recording. That's my big overarching goal for however long we do the podcast. Podcasts are kind of a dying thing. Those who are enrooted in it will continue to be enrooted in it, but you'll find that we're kind of just morphing into a new era of technology, and that technology involves a user interface that is whatever you want it to be when you need it. Meaning it'll be a stream of instantly created video of whatever you need in the moment. It'll be a stream of instantly created audio, instantly created technology, instantly created study. We're getting ready to move very quickly into a world where you won't need apps and you won't need that type of interface. It's going to be like a liquid interface. So your computer, you'll open up a Chrome browser, but literally you'll be like, well, I need an app. You'll tell it to make you an app for the weather and you want it to stay fixed on the side of the screen. Or you want it to make a video for you or teach you a full 30-minute lesson and what looks like a human will come on with full audio, full video, and not only be able to teach you the lesson like a static lesson, but you'll be able to interrupt the person and sit there and talk to them. And it'll have a PhD level and anything. So it's the podcast as we know it is going to change. I sure wish I had my phone. There it is. Give me just a second. I always like to make sure that we have good sound quality before I get too far into it. I always like to make sure that we have good. We sure do. So I got a new mic. Hopefully you guys, it sounds better, clearer, more consistent. We opened up the ability to give us feedback on electricalexamcoach.com, and we gotten a lot of good feedback. Nothing really like bad, which is good. Sometimes you wish it was there so you could make an adjustment or modification, but we do like good feedback too, don't get me wrong. But one of them was inconsistency in the volumes of the videos. Some of them were made over many years, so it was maybe even different microphones. But when I do the 2026 updates, that will be live January 1st, they will have consistent audio from here on out with the new mic, hopefully. So that is the game plan. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's episode. We've got 5 with us, and let's get to it. Welcome back. I am the Electrical Code Coach, and this is the Alpha Phase Podcast. And our goal is to be the number one in adding value to you. We want to motivate, educate, and inspire. Now let's dive into Today in History. Or it's not today in history anymore, it's this month in history. Let's check out a couple topics. Let's take a look let's make sure you guys can see it all, and you can. That way I can get to a bigger screen. Let's talk about the first transatlantic radio transmission. On December 12, 1901, Italian inventor Giglio Marconi, I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but I do know his last name is Marconi, achieved a milestone in electrical communication history by successfully receiving the first transatlantic radio signal. Overcoming skeptics that radio waves couldn't travel beyond the horizon, Marconi's team in St. John's, Newfoundland, heard the Morse code for the letter S sent by Pondhu, Cornwall, in England, nearly 2,000 miles away. This breakthrough didn't just prove long-distance wireless transmission communication was possible. It revolutionized global connectivity, laying the early foundation for modern radio, television broadcasts, and all wireless communication that we use today. Radio's practical importance was soon evidenced. By the 1910s, ship-to-shore radio had become indispensable for maritime safety. On December 12th each year, historians mark this achievement as a transformative moment that bridged continents without wires, ushering in the age of global electronic communication. I've talked about it many times on this channel, but during this exact same time, J.P. Morgan had funded Nikola Tesla to do this very thing, which was to master radio. Marconi used approximately 15 patents of Tesla's to even make radio possible, which is fine. That's the way the world works. He stacked the different technologies. But J.P. Morgan thought that he was paying Tesla to work on radio, but Tesla took that money, went out in the middle of nowhere, built this giant tower, and was hoping to give electricity for free to the whole world wirelessly. Now, J.P. Morgan was a money man. Obviously, they wouldn't have given it away for free, but I assure you that his vision of making money from Tesla's investment did not align with giving electricity away for free. So even if Nikola Tesla would have achieved it, it would have not have been the case. They would have had to charge for it. J.P. Morgan was in the business of making money. But instead of doing that, he was actually over wasting his money. And later, J.P. Morgan found out, cut the water spout off, and that was the beginning of the real fall of Nikola Tesla. All that genius, and he died broke. But we do want to acknowledge today Marconi, who was diligent and took the time, put all of the pieces together, and is accredited for being the father of radio as we know it. Now let's talk about magnetic core memory patent granted. On December 15th, 1964, Kenneth H. Olson and colleagues were granted a U.S. patent for magnetic core memory, an innovation that dramatically improved how computers store and access data in the pre-semiconductor era. Unlike earlier memory systems, magnetic core memory used tiny ferrite rings, cores, threaded with wires to represent bits of information in via magnetic polarity. This design offered faster, reliable, random access storage that was essential for the early microcomputers and complex computing tasks. Core memory became the dominant form of primary memory in computers from the 50s to the early 70s, powering everything from military systems to business data processors and scientific equipment. Olson's work at Digital Equipment Corp., DEC, helped usher in the age of smaller, more affordable computers, making digital technology accessible outside giant mainframe installations. This December anniversary celebrates a pivotal moment in computing history where electrical engineering and inventive design made data storage faster, affordable, and more practical, setting the stage for today's digital world. You know, one thing that especially during the era that we live in right now, that can be kind of overwhelming is that if 6 months from now this technology is not going to exist, or what I'm working on now isn't going to be relevant possibly even 6 months from now, if you're building new things, never forget that technology is exponential. It could be the piece that you add to the puzzle that would have never allowed us to get where we're going to be in 6 months. Now, of course, in his era, it was these were, decade-long improvements. Like a small improvement in the 70s wouldn't have made the technology possible in the 80s. Today, it's on a very short scale, from months to years, where our little contribution can make a huge change, and we might not be able to get where we're going to be 6 months, 2 years from now without our contribution. And don't be overwhelmed by the technology itself. If you don't like a feature about AI today, or you don't like the way that it works or how it responds, just wait a week. It literally doesn't take long. Sometimes I can see something that I want done, and I could piece together 5 parts and make it work, right? But I just wait a few weeks, and they piece all those 5 parts together for me, and then it's a one-click solution. Now let's dive into the code of today. Today we have 2 codes. They really tie together. We're in Article 330, which is all about MC. We're in the .12 section. Remember, when you get to the .12 section, that is going to be your uses not permitted for whatever type of cable, pipe, or raceway that you're using. I'm only looking at part 1 of dot 12 for this piece of the lesson. Type MC cable shall not be installed in locations where it's subject to physical damage. I want us to stop right there. That applies to really everything. Nothing can be installed where it's intentionally in the path of physical damage. Meaning if I know there's a route in this factory, they've drawn on the floor where the forklift is going to run, right? Like stay out of this path, don't put anything in this path. We know that this is the forklift lane. I can't intentionally set my wiring right across the floor or my conduit right across the floor where it's going to run over it. That would be intentionally subjecting it to physical damage. Now I'm going to use a very dangerous word here, and some call it the C word. But when it comes to physical damage, you have to use a lot of common sense. Common sense. I know it's a scary word in this world, but when it comes to something being subject to physical damage, because you might ask the question, is this subject to physical damage or not? Well, what do you think? Could it be physically damaged under normal uses? Now, we don't have to thankfully prepare for every freak accident, but if I'm in a garage and there is a water heater there and the water heater is in the path of the car when it pulls in, do you think I need a bollard? Yes or no? Yes. How come? I'm going to use a little common sense because it's in the path of a car that's going to be pulling in. A 4,000-pound vehicle, some of them with batteries attached to them, right? Lots of problems that could happen. Do I need a bollard? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, the common sense answer is yes, then I'm going to put one. The same thing works for the electrical portion of the water heater or any other electrical installation. So nothing's allowed to be subject to physical damage pretty much in the NEC without some type of protection or guarding. Now that protection could come in the form of the raceway. It could come in the form of the jacket, as we're getting ready to kind of learn about here in the next piece. Let's talk about 330.15. This is where MC cable differentiates itself from NM cable. Let me read the code and I'll explain what I mean. Cable runs that are visible and not concealed, unless allowed under 300.11b, must closely follow the contour of the building's surface or be attached along running boards. It's also acceptable to install visible cable runs beneath joists if they are supported at every joist and are positioned to avoid potential physical damage. This is where some common sense is going to have to come in. But NM cable, you're only allowed to staple to the bottom of the floor joist if you have cables that are 8.3 and larger. So cables that are 8.2 and smaller are actually not allowed to be stapled right to the bottom of the floor joist, unless your state, like the state of Tennessee, has a special provision. In Tennessee, if the crawl space is 4'6" or less, if I think that's the measurement, 4'6" or less, you can staple all NM cable directly to the bottom of the floor joist. But that's a special Tennessee code. All other states, if they just are a pure NECist, those cables have to be 8.3 and larger in order to be mounted to the bottom of the floor joist. This is where MC is set apart, and I want to plant a little seed today. If you're running a single circuit in a basement and you are able to protect it from physical damage, maybe think about using MC because you can just do it right to the bottom of the floor joist according to this code. It says it's also acceptable for visible runs beneath floor joists if they are supported at every joist. So every single joist, it has to be supported, and positioned to avoid potential physical damage. And there's that physical damage piece. Everything you install. Now, let me say this. Sometimes in the code, they give that guidance of what physical damage or severe physical damage means, but you've got to use a lot of practicality and you have to use some common sense. Is this subject to physical damage? Yes or no? If you think no, well, guess who else gets an opinion on it? Your inspector gets their opinion on it. But unless they can prove it's subject to physical damage, you've got a leg to stand on. But like any time you are talking with an inspector and you don't see eye to eye, you've got to ask yourself, is it worth the price? Is me winning this point worth XYZ price? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they just have their ways, and let me say this for all inspectors, because I've been in their feet. Sometimes they have their ways, even if it's a little bit above and beyond code, because of experience. They've seen your install 10,000 times, sometimes that day they've seen the exact same install. While at the same time, if they've been in the game and an old electrician, or they've been in the game for a period of time, they've seen that install and they've seen what can happen on the extreme of the bad end of the spectrum. So sometimes their quirks or their above and beyond codes are because of experience. Hey, I found that this is a gap in the code. Yes, the code says you're compliant with XYZ, but I've found in the real world where we actually live that it can be a problem. So sometimes they're not just fighting you and they're not just being who they are actually trying to help you because of experience. So make sure that you keep your mind open, not so open that it falls out and not so closed that you can't get along in business, but you got to make sure that you, and listen, I've learned to ask silly questions. Whether I was the inspector or the installer, if the inspector is pushing you to do something what you feel like is above and beyond code or is clear-cut above and beyond code, ask a silly question. You might call it a stupid question, depending on how you like to do it. Ask the question and say, okay, I understand what you're saying. It looks like it's above code, which can be a good thing. Why do you require that? Boom. And that little silly question can open up, and they might give you the answer just because I said so, which is sometimes the answer from the inspectors. But they might also give you an answer, well, I'm glad you asked. I've seen this install 100 times, and I've come back on ones where the service was ripped off the house or XYZ, whatever it is. Or I was in this zone of commercial my entire life, and I can't tell you working in this factory how many times it got ripped off the wall by the forklift. People don't realize, whatever it is. So just asking some silly questions can really get you a long way. Now let's take a look at the funny pick of the day. This one cracked me up. If you'd like your funny picture featured, you can email it over to electricalcodecoach@gmail.com. I want you to check this out. Now, you got to give them a 10 out of 10 for execution. I don't know if they scored the back of this thing and bent it, but it looks like that is manufactured that way. And you got to beg the question, if the box isn't behind the other wall, is this not code compliant? I guess the only piece here that really rings a bell, let's assume that the box is fully on this side of the L wall. The problem that I see in this photo, which if they're this good, they might be able to fix it, is this left-hand side, if you're looking at it, is lipping on the trim, it looks like. So it's gotta be setting flush, but very good execution. You could probably argue that it's not code compliant. Is it better than nothing? Probably. I don't know if they've caulked it or what, but this looks like that thing was manufactured like that. Why don't you guys leave some comments down below? The funniest clean comment will win a prize for today. We'll send you over a pipe fill keychain absolutely for free. Now let's get to know the coach. What is my greatest struggle? And of course, that's always in the season, right? Because struggles change and things change. My greatest struggle right now, and what am I doing about it? While I sip the juice here, why don't you guys think about what your biggest struggle is and what you're doing about it? All right. My biggest struggle, and I think it's all of ours right now, is focus. Focus. I find I'll grind my brains out. That doesn't bother me. It's not work. That's the issue. It's staying focused without a ding, ring, notification on the side of the MacBook, simple distraction, someone coming in the room, whatever. And part of my job is I answer my phone pretty much when it rings, so some of them I have to take the distractions. But then it's getting back on task. It's having too many tabs open up top. There's a million ways now to be distracted. And I was ADD anyways, and have short attention. And I like hopping from task to task. It can be the same task, but I like almost like a reset button and switching gears or doubling down on my resolve, whatever that is. So what I'm doing right now is and if you're not using ChatGPT, I've got to ask you why. I will do a free 30-minute session with you and take you from 0 to 60 in using it. Because if you're not using it, your competitors are, and they're going to eat your lunch. I'm telling you. And what's really going to be crazy is the people that are really good at using it are going to be able to disrupt, and I say that term very loosely, to be able to have 4 jobs. You don't even know that they have 4 different jobs. They're working 4 40-hour-a-week jobs, some of them remotely, some of them, whatever, and nobody even knows they're working 4 jobs because they're that good at utilizing this technology. I want you to be good at your one job. With that being said, I'm using the AI and I talk to it. If you pay your $20 a month, I pay $250, but I use it on a grand scale. If you pay your $20 a month, you can talk to it. And you turn the thing on and you can talk to it. And what I'm doing right now to combat my greatest struggle is I'm doing laser-focused 20-minute sessions. I set a 20-minute timer, and if I don't set a timer, I keep track of the time. Either way is fine. And what I do, I like setting the timer for this reason, because if I do get a phone call, I can pause the timer and finish my 20-minute session. And what I do after I get done with the session is I'll turn the GPT on and talk to it, and it knows what my goals are. It knows what I'm working on. It knows that I'm trying to do these 20-minute sessions. And after each 20-minute session, I talk to it about where I got distracted, right? One of them is just daydreaming. And me and it have made the agreement, or, I've set the standard that if I daydream for 30 seconds or less, I'm not even going to count it, because that's just part of the natural workflow. But I tell the machine what I'm doing, how often I'm doing it, where I'm distracted at. Now, if I do that over 10 days or 20, 30, or 100 days, it's going to be able to tell me, these are the distractions. This is how you get rid of it. And if you can do those 20-minute sessions, and what I'm focusing on in my life, listen to me, I want to be in the top 5% of all categories. I don't want to be in the one, and I'm talking top 5% of all humanity. There's no reason, my friend, that you can't be in the top 5% of all humanity in every subject, period. Maybe not every individual subject, but every area of life that you want to be. I don't want to be a 1%er in every area, because sometimes I feel like there may be some moral implications if you want to be in the 1% of money. Maybe not. Maybe it is. If you want to be in the 1% of fitness, I feel like you got to spend 8 hours in the gym a day. If you want to be in the 1% of whatever that is, there's usually has to be some life dedication to it that I'm just not willing to do. But if I could literally be in the top 5% of all mankind, globe-wide, of a specific subject, you'd be surprised how little it takes in certain areas. Did you know to be in the top 5% of all global giving of your resources and time, you only have to give 10%? To be in the top 5% of all 7 billion, 8 billion people, you only have to give 10%. And that can be a mix of your money and your time. So my whole point is, you're probably already a 5%er in certain areas of your life. I said all that to say this, that I want to be in the top 5% of performing in my job especially, and it only takes 5 20-minute sessions, laser focused on one thing a day, to be in that top 5%. Now, different areas take different things. Did you know that to be in the top 5% of net worth, you only have to have $200,000? I would have guessed that you needed 100 million based off of the great wealth. But no, globally, if you average it out, to be in the top 5%, you've only got to have a net worth of $200,000. That means you could have 0 money in the bank and 5 cars in the driveway that equal $200,000, and you would be in the top 5% of wealth. I said all that to say this, that I'm using these 20-minute sessions. I've got my days crafted. Today's my first day of doing the full craft. I've got a full 8-hour day. Some of them I can stack so I can shrink that down, because my pocket days are in between 6 and 8 hours, not counting all of the other phone calls. I'm really on call 24/6. But with that being said, shrinking my core down to 6 to 8 hours of laser-focused 20-minute sessions across 5 different topics. I say that to say this, that I'm so distracted with all the bells and whistles that I find myself capable of doing so much but not doing it. So what's your greatest struggle, and what are you going to do about it? You want to do little mini work sessions. You want to turn off the phone for periods of time. Usually it's going to involve, you'll find whatever your struggle is, you're going to find that there's some of the distractions are in the way and it's keeping you from being the best you can be. So that's what I'm working on right now. Let's talk about Tool Corner. Today is one that I'm kind of blown away by, and it is over on racketeerstools.com. Let's check this thing out. Over here on Racketeers Tools, which you can use the coupon code COACH10 if you follow the link in the description below. You have to follow the link in the description, and you have to use the coupon code COACH10, and you can save 10% site-wide. That's huge at a tool website. Today's tool is a beast. This is not only your regular plug tester, but it also, which will tell you, correct wiring and everything else. It's also an AC line splitter. You can test GFCI with it as well, but you can put your amp clamp around it after plugging something into it, and you can see how many amps that it's reading. This can be huge. Let's go ahead and watch the little video here. This can be huge. So you take it, getting nothing on the amp clamp, it's going to take it, you're going to set it, and then you're going to plug something into it, and it will allow you to read those amps. Now, this, my friends, could be revolutionary when it comes to troubleshooting. Whoa! Hopefully that doesn't flag my video. Dang it, that's all right. If you play any music on YouTube, they'll rip your video offline. Hopefully that wasn't enough to do it. I think they usually need 4 bars. With that being said, this is the Racketeers AC Splitters, featuring a receptacle and GFCI tester, as well as the ability to measure current through the measuring rings. Verifies your receptacle's wiring, measure voltage, and use your clamp meter, not included, to measure up to 15 amps. It's also equipped with lights that show 5 different wiring faults: open ground, open neutral, hot ground reverse, open hot, and hot neutral reverse. Listen, I don't know if you've ever had your tester say hot ground reverse. Nobody's ever accidentally put the hot wire on the ground and the ground wire on the hot. Never. Usually it means that you have an open neutral, just a little pro tip, or that you're missing your neutral. Open neutral, missing your neutral. All right, let's dive into our code of the day, and I want us to remember today, Article 404. And that is going to be the NEC article for switches. Now, there's some rearranging that comes in the 26, and there'll be even more rearranging in the 29, but most of us won't be on that code for an extended period of time. But I want you to remember, last session we remembered 406 receptacles, and this session I want you to remember 404 switches. I want you to start soaking these codes in where they're at in the book, so that you can know where to go. I don't need to memorize the whole thing. I'm on 4 different code cycles right now. I don't even memorize large blocks of code anymore. I just memorize where it's at. Where's it at in the book? Oh, that's in switches. Okay, that's 404. Then you'll start getting familiar with it's .6, it's .12, it's .24. And the beautiful thing about memorizing the article is it's easier to memorize the section, but when you don't quite remember where the article's at, you're like, well, I think it's 406 or it's 404. I know it's .24, but I don't remember what article it is. I would rather you know what article is and not what section it was. So listen, if anything you need to know about switches, you can find that in Article 404. Now let's go ahead and read our history lesson. I've got a really good one for us today. Let me make sure that you guys can see all the text. You can. Let's dive into it. Electric power spread to cities in fragmented experimental ways rather than a single coordinated rollout. Early systems were local, small scale, and almost entirely direct current. Alternating current systems appeared later and expanded electricity over longer distances. The first city district to receive a centralized electric power system was New York City. In September 1882, Thomas Edison's Pearl Street Station, funded by J.P. Morgan, began operation in Lower Manhattan, supplying 110-volt DC power to about 85 homes within 1 square mile. Because DC could not be transmitted efficiently over long distances, The Pearl Street station relied on dense customer placement and thick copper conductors. Similar DC stations soon followed. The second major city of electrification occurred in London, which began operating DC lighting systems in 1882 to 1883, including the Holborn Viaduct station. Like New York, London's early electric service was limited to small districts and primarily served electric lighting loads. After New York and London, Boston received DC power in 1883. So this had just been about a year after New York received it, which was huge. Followed by Philadelphia and Chicago. These all were likely, I'm kind of off script here a little bit, these all were likely Edison systems. All of these early systems were DC and confined to short transmission distances, typically less than 1 mile from the generation station. By 1885, more than 120 DC central stations were operating in North America. I want you to think about how fast that is. From 0 to 120 small stations in 3 years. This is massive. The first city to receive AC power at scale was Great Barrington, Massachusetts in 1886. This system, which was designed by William Stanley for Westinghouse. Now, Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla at this point were yoked up and getting stuff done and winning the current war. They used transformers to step voltage up and down, allowing power transmission farther from the generator. The first major city to adopt AC distribution was Buffalo, New York, beginning in 1886, which was powered by the Niagara Falls Hydroelectric Project. If you don't know, the Niagara Falls Hydroelectric Project was the real nail-in-the-coffin blow for the DC systems. There was a bid out, and Tesla and Edison with J.P. Morgan, Tesla and Westinghouse and J.P. Morgan and Edison were both bidding for it to win it. The problem with DC is it doesn't matter how much you turn the water and you turn the generator, you just couldn't transmit it far enough. So AC ended up winning. They took that Niagara Falls power and ran it first to Buffalo, New York. High voltage AC was transmitted over 20 miles to Buffalo, marking a shift from regional power transmission. Following Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit expanded AC systems in the 1890s, and then Chicago adopted AC gradually, maintaining mixed systems into the early 20th century. New York City continued operating networks into the 30s, and some DC services still persisted until 2007. I believe they were elevators. We're still using the original DC system of the 1880s. Internationally, Berlin, Frankfurt adopted AC in the 1890s, while Paris initially favored DC before transitioning. By 1910, AC had become the dominant standard for urban electrification worldwide. And that, my friends, is when we had AC take over and create the world that we know it today at lightning speed. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video. It is electricalcodecoach.com. And I want you guys to know that we do tabbed and highlighted code books for only $300. You come here and you pick your year. That is including free shipping. By the time you do the math, offer the service, and knowing that the Code Coach team is taking care of you, this is a one-of-a-kind custom piece made just for you. It's not just about having the tabbed and highlighted code book. It's know that it was made custom for you. I don't know if you're like me. In the world that we live in of cheap junk, I like bespoke things now. Things that are custom, things that are unique, things that you can't buy at Target, Costco, Walmart, wherever it is you shop. I like things that are custom that you can't get. This is a custom code book just for you, created by the Code Coach team for your order specifically. They take about 2 to 4 weeks to deliver, depending on all of the different shipping. This includes free shipping in the U.S., so I really encourage you to check it out over at electricalcodecoach.com. Now let's talk about the small business coaching, and I'm going to coach you through getting your first set of business cards. Business cards are the first thing that you need to get once you've gone through everything that we've learned about in the past few podcasts. If you want to set up some small business coaching one-on-one, go to electricalcodecoach.com/booking, and you can book some sessions with me. With that being said, let's talk about business cards. And for that, I encourage you to use Office Max for the first round. They're very inexpensive. You can pick them up same day. I'd go ahead and get you some of the cheaper ones made that you can pick up same day, so you get that empowerment and you start handing out cards. Then go back on there and make some maybe a little bit nicer ones. You do not need to spend your money on these heavy metal business cards. Nobody on earth is going to carry around your metal business card. I'm sorry. My wallet, you got to pay to play. You got to either be making me money or the ability for me to spend money, or be my carry permit to make it inside my wallet. All other business cards, I snap a photo of them and I throw them in the trash. You gotta fight to get inside my wallet, right? Some backup money, perhaps, whatever. It's got to be very functional, because wallets are heavy, and I put mine in my front pocket anyways, but you don't want to sit on it. But what you're going to do is you're going to come over here, and let's go back to the original homepage here. That way I can walk you through step by step. I love Office Depot or Office Max, either one. If you don't have one nearby, you can use Vistaprint or whoever. They helped me early on. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click on business cards. They offer $11.99 a box for your basic cheap little cards. They're all you need at first. People don't care how fancy your card is. They just don't care. There was a season where people kind of cared. They could care less anymore. And you're going to come over here and upload your design. But before we do that, I want to take you over to GPT and teach you how to make your own card design for free, right? If you are using ChatGPT, the free version, I encourage you to get the $20 version. Let me get this a little bit bigger here so you guys can see it. All right, let me show you the prompt, and then I'll squeeze it back down. Create me a face for my business card. The company is Pookie Electric. Here's the phone number, email address. I do residential, commercial, and industrial. No job too small. Here's my license number, and I want you to save it. It's supposed to say as at the size. Save it at the size and shape of a business card so I can just upload it right onto OfficeDepot.com. And here's the first iteration. Didn't do bad. Very simple. Keep your card easy to read and simple. Easy to read and simple. People should not have to decipher anything that you create in business. Trust me on this. I said, make it more professional. Great, and it did. Made it a little more professional. I can tweak it. I can have it create me a logo and then add it. I can have it change the logo, do whatever I want. And then I'm going to try downloading it first. So download, and let's see what size it came out as. And then I'm also going to snap a screenshot of it and see if that's a better way to upload it. Then I'm just going to come back over here to Office Max or Office Depot, and I'm going to upload my photo. So let's go to my device. Let's do the downloaded version first and see what it shows up like. Boom. Really good. So you want to avoid the edges. So I'm going to slide this over, and I'm going to blow it up. Now, one thing you'll notice that I see as a problem already, it says low resolution. I don't see it being a low resolution image, but I've got no problem with it. Long story short, I noticed that this is a photo of a card, so it has rounded edges, meaning that you'll have a square card and then a rounded edge card. So I would go back to the machine and say, listen, I need you to make this look square. Now let's upload my screenshot, which will be square. And let's see what happens here. So we go to Documents, so we go to Screenshots, and shabam. All right, this one's going to be square. Let's see how it turns out. Oh, that's not bad. This one is a little low resolution for what they like. I can take this photo, feed it back into the machine, and say make it a higher resolution, whatever I want. And then you come through, pick your card type, 3 to 7 business days. I need them today. You're going to go through. You're going to pick how much per box. It's $8 a box if you buy 2. That's dirt cheap for 100 cards. And boom, Pookie Electric. I've got no problem with it. Approve the process, and then shabam. In just a couple minutes, I pay my $16, and literally they are, you like that one? That was a funny one. They are right there, ready for you to use, and you can pick them up that day and get some cards in your hand. That is the most important thing you need to do. Everyone with a breath gets a business card. Everyone. If they are breathing, I don't care where you are, except for your places that you want to keep sacrosanct, that you want to keep separate. I really encourage you, do not work for people that you go to church with, that you play ball with, that you go to the gym with. You've got to have, because you're getting ready to be in hot demand if you're an electrician. Do not advertise where you want to be at peace. When you get 3 guys or gals and you've got tons of work going on, you want to be able to go to church for 1 hour, shut the phone off, stare and listen to somebody tell you about something, right? And not have sister so-and-so or brother Fluffy head come over and say, hey, my breaker tripped again. And then somebody leans in from your back and say, hey, could you go look at Mama's light? Listen to me. Make yourself some places. I don't work for anybody I go to the gym with. I don't work for my gym. There's a million other places that I can work because I like to go sit in the sauna, and I don't want to look across from the dude and him be like, man, that worked for a while, but it's tripping again. Can you come take a look at it? When I'm just trying to have 5 minutes to myself. Now, when you're early on and you're full of vinegar and, I can take on the world and I'll be able to do this forever, I think that's great. It's called the honeymoon phase. It's going to fade. When you're stressed out and you've got 90 jobs going on and the inspector just failed you and the power company said they can't cut you loose, so you've got 2 guys that have nothing to do today and you've got a customer angry that they can't get their panel changed, I promise you're going to want a place during your lunch break that you can go sneak away and be yourself and not have to deal with it for just a minute. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. So hand your cards out to everybody with a breath. Every gas station, you're at the pump, make the interaction. That's how you get your name out. You are in good times right now, and if you started your business the last 5 years, you may not know any bad. I was coaching a guy the other day. I said, well, he said he'd been in business 8 years. I said, well, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly? He said, no. He said, I've seen only the good. And he said, the problem is I'm starting to see the ugly and the bad now. I said, are you slowing down? He said, yeah. And, we talked about it a bit. But so it's been green lights for about, 8 to 13 years. There will be a market correction. It's just the way the world works. So you may have only seen good times, but I've seen them all. Good, terrible, great, phenomenal, unreal. And the longer you're in the game and the more that you do this, you're going to need to set yourself up systems and processes that support you when times are good and also when they're bad. And I want you to have this mindset, and this is the last thing I'll leave you with today. I want you to build the business today or the life today that you want 2 years from now. If you don't want to be working on Saturdays 2 years from now, don't work on Saturdays today. And I don't mean don't work at all, because we're supposed to work 6 days. If not, things just don't seem to work. But you also have a yard and a family and things that you've got to take care of. I'm talking about in your job and on your job. If you don't want to work Saturdays 2 years from now, don't work Saturdays today. If you work Saturdays today, you will work Saturdays 2 years from now. I'm telling you. If you don't want to be bothered at church or at the ball field or cheer or wherever 2 years from now, then don't do it today. Don't advertise where you work and where you live. Yes, it's great to be helpful. Yes, you want to be the type of person that's able to help and people can count and rely on. But listen to me. You do not want to not have anywhere that's safe for you to be. A lot of guys and gals find themselves running in business when they have nowhere safe to get away from the business. I am the Electrical Code Coach, and my bargain is that these videos will add value to you, and you will in turn add value to others. If you need anything from me, you can always email me at electricalcodecoach@gmail.com. This is the Alpha Phase Podcast, but there is one who is the alpha of alphas, and it's very attractive, and his name's Jesus. He never misses a shot. He's always on point. He always does what's right. He has all physical and self-control, and he has helped me do everything that he's called me to do and everything that I've desired to do. He's given me the grit, the grind, and the determination, and he'll do the same for you. I am the Electrical Code Coach.